Go.
Okay. If meat of the most holy and meat of the lesser holy have been cooked with ordinary meat, they are forbidden to the unclean, but are permitted to the clean.
You missed out 16. But we're supposed to flip us around there.
Flesh of the most holy or pig or nosa were cooked with other pieces. They are forbidden to non-priests, but permitted to priests. Reb Shimon permits to non-priest and to priest. And Gimel Aleph is, if a garment was dyed with the husk of Orlah, it must be burnt. If it became mixed up with others, all must be burnt. So says Rav Meir, but the Kakamim say it becomes void 1 in 200.
Okay. All right. Mishna base. So we just saw over there the machlokas between Rabbi Meir and Chachamim, where Rabbi Meir says the garment that was dyed with Orlah or with dye from an Orlah fruit is even that cannot be bottled. It's chashuv in itself. Chachamim said not. Now we go into a smaller scale. Hatzaveh malo hasit beklipe Orlah. Malo hasit. So the sit is malo hasit is the distance between your thumb and middle finger if you stretch them out.
Right.
Okay, and that is and so that is considered as a thread that's of a significant length. We also saw this in Kalim, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That the was it in Kalim? Was it no, that would have been a patch of cloth. So I'm not sure if Malohasit appears anywhere in Kalim now that I'm thinking about it. I actually don't know. Anyway, Tzovea Malohasit. He dyed it with klipe Orlah for arag of a beged, and now that thread was woven into a garment. The ein yadoa ezehu, and you don't know which one it was. Rabbi Meir Omer yidale kabeged. So burn the whole garment. There's no repairing it because that thread is not batel. It's significant inside the beged. No, if there's more than 200 threads of that size, then the thread itself is certainly batel. So even in a case like this, Rabbi Meir says that holds its chashivus, where Chachamim say, well, for sure, if they're going to say about you could say a kal v'chomer about Chachamim in this case, because if they hold that the whole beged that was dyed, it can be batel in 200, and certainly a thread that's inside a beged would be batel in 100, would be batel inside 200. Okay, Mishnah Gimel. So now, when we're talking about other things, so we kind of segue into other things that could be woven into a beged, and there are other things that are aser bahana. For example, the wool from a bechor, that you're not allowed to shear it, and its wool is not allowed to be used. Okay, so if it was used, then liyadalek habeged. Umisar Nazir, same thing goes for the hair of a Nazir, umi peter chamor basak. So if you took the hair from a Nazir, or or you shaved a donkey that had to be killed because the guy refused to redeem it, of the firstborn donkey,
right,
and it turned that into sackcloth, yidale kasak. Then the sack must be burned as well. And when it comes to kodshim, if it was donated to things that were donated for bedek habayis, for temple upkeep, even in a smaller amount than Melo Hasit, these things become aser. So the Yerushalmi explains the reason why we're more machmir is with kodshim is because we're talking about kodshim that you're able to do a pidyon on, and a pidyon is something that's a matir. So we have this concept of davar sheyesh lo matirin. If there is another way of being matir something than by doing bittul, then we don't allow the bittul to take place. So one of the examples we have of davar sheyesh lo matirin is chametz on Pesach. If you have something that's got a tarovis of chametz in it, you could say, so why don't we say it's batel? We say be'elif lo batel if a little bit of chametz falls into something. Okay, so one of the reasons we give is because of davar sheyesh lo matirin. All you have to do is wait until after Pesach, and then the thing will become mutar. So just put it aside. What becomes aser after Pesach is chametz.
Right.
Chametz is chametz shavar alav pesach. But if some chametz accidentally fell into something, now you're gonna say, oh, it's batel. No, it's not batel. You can't have bittel. You can just wait until after Pesach, then you can enjoy it. Okay, so the same thing goes for these kodshim of Vedic Abayas, which have where you have an eitzah, which is just to do a pidyon on them,
Right.
instead of saying, okay, let's make them batel. Anyway, so this Mishnah is according to it seems like it's according to the opinion of Rabbi Meir in the previous Mishnah, because Rabbi Meir was the one who said there's no bittul for these things. And let's see, there's something in the commentary here. I'm just looking for it now. Okay, this is something over here. Was it over here? I'm just trying to remember. When I was looking at it in the English, I saw there was a commentary that this is according to Rabbi Meir. Oh, there we go. Yes. Okay. According to Yerushalmi, our Mishnah is Rabbi Meir's opinion, who is machmir even in when you tzovea molo hasit, even with a thread of Orlah inside the garment. But according to the Rambam holds differently. He says that the Chachamim agree over here that there's no bittul. What's the Rambam say there? He says the reason is because in all of these things there was no shear given in any way, and therefore if there's no shear, then there's no bittul.
Okay.
Okay. אפשר להעביר מן הבגד, אין הבגד מסקלקל על ידי כך, אבל צמר מלוא הסית שנהרג עם הבגד, אם יוציא עשו ממנו, זה מקלקל את הבגד כולו, וכן גם בשיער. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Mishnah Dalet Tavshil shebishlo beklipe Orlah. So now you have something was on the stove, and it turns out that the fuel you used under the stove to make the fire was made from shells of Orlah.
Okay.
So now your food got cooked by Orlah, and Orlah has an Isser Hana. This is cooking something is a Hana. You managed to cook it. So says the Tana, Yidalek, burn it. You got to get rid. You got to get rid of this tavshil. You're not allowed to eat it because it was made with Orlah. Nisarif ba'acherim. What happens if this tavshil got mixed up with other kosher food? Yaleh be'echad u'masayim. So there, it now does have a shear bittul, 1 in 200. Okay. Why does this have a shear? Because it's not the food be'etzim that's aser. Remember, it could be a tavshil that's royal for a king. But remember what we said in kashrus, that if it's not the food be'etzim that's aser, but there's an iser inside it, an iser balua. Remember we said with the steak that absorbed blood. We talked about this last night after. Right. The steak that absorbed blood, if that got mixed up with other steaks, we say it's mutar. Why? Because the steak itself is not be'etzim aser. It's not the thing itself that has a problem. It's what's absorbed into it. As opposed to we said with basa b'chalav, where the steak itself becomes the problem.
What happens on Pesach if you find some leaven inside a matzah? Is to burn it, throw it out?
Assuming you could identify leaven inside a matzah, and why is that a shaila?
I'm just asking what happens to that? What do you do with that?
When you find, I mean, you're just asking the question: what happens when you find chametz on Pesach?
Okay, comments. I was thinking the matzah because it's baked. Because this is always saying it's being burnt. Things are being burnt over here. So what do you do with that matzah? Do you burn it, or you just
you got to take the chametz. There's no mitzvah to burn matzah. But the problem is not the matzah. The problem is the chametz.
The chametz that's in the matzah, right?
Right. So you take out the chametz and you burn it.
You burn the chametz, okay?
Yeah.
but you wouldn't burn it in the same oven that you're baking matzah.
Definitely not. No.
Right. Because right, you wouldn't just in case something
No,
else.
it's an Isser Hana. If you're baking, you can't bake something with something that else that's Asr B'Hana.
Right, with the same, which is with the same thing with the Orlah, with the shells.
Exactly. That's exactly the point of our Mishnah over here.
Right, that's what I want to make sure. Okay. All right, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember a couple of Pesachs ago, I was looking for a plaster to put over somebody, a cut on my finger or somebody's finger or whatever. So I opened the box of plasters during Pesach, and there inside the box of plasters are 2 pretzels. Like when you're going checking for chametz,
Did you call a family meeting?
it's just not.
It really does call for a family meeting when you think about
Yeah,
it.
I took photos.
That's
I
very
took photos both of the original things and of their destruction. Okay, Aleph Dalet.
Oh, wow. You couldn't make that up. All right. If a tree was uprooted but one root remained, it is exempt. And how much must the root be? Ram Gamil says in the name of Rebbe Eliezer ben Yehuda of Artoda as a stretching pin. If um, if a tree was uprooted but still had a sunken shoot and it lives on it, the old one becomes this like the sunken shoot. If he sank a shoot year after year and it became detached, one counts from the time it became detached. In grafting connections of a grapevines and grafting on an engraved branch, even if one has sunk it into the ground, is permitted. Reb Meir says in a place where its potency is effective, it is permitted, but in a place where its potency is deficient, it's forbidden. So too, if it bent down, if the bent down shoot has become detached and it's full of fruit, it is increased 100th part, it is forbidden. If a shoot of Orlah or a vineyard kalayim became mixed up with shoots, one may not gather it. But if he did gather it, it becomes void in 201, provided he not gather it with this in mind. Reb Yoshi says he may even gather it with this in mind, yet it becomes void in 201. All right.
Okay.
My Shani. Here we go.
Yeah, base.
His face. Reb Shimon says, one may not anoint oneself with Ma'aser Sheni oil in Yerushalayim, but the sages permit. They said to Reb Shimon, if they were lenient in the case of Truma, which is a grave matter, shall we not be lenient in the case of a lighter Ma'aser Sheni? He said to them, not so. If we were lenient in the graver cases of Truma, in which they were lenient in regard to vetches and fenugreek, can we be lenient in the case of a lighter Ma'aser Sheni, in which they were not lenient in regard to vetches and fenugreek? Fenugreek of Ma'aser Sheni must be eaten while it is immature, and of Truma. Beis Shammai says whatever is done with it must be in a state of cleanliness, whether cleansing one's head, except cleansing one's head. Beis Hillel says whatever is done with it must be done in a state of uncleanliness, except immersing in water.
Maybe done unclean. You never have an obligation to be unclean.
Okay. Ma'aser Sheni vetches must be eaten while immature and may be taken into Yerushalayim and taken out again. If they became unclean, Reb Tarfon says they should be divided among pieces of dough, but the Kachamim say they must be redeemed. And if Truma, Beit Shammai says they must be soaked and rubbed in a state of cleanliness, but may be fed in a state of uncleanliness. Reb Hillel says they must be soaked in a state of cleanliness, but must be rubbed and fed in a state of uncleanliness. Reb Shammai says they must be eaten dry, and Reb Akiva says whatever is with them may be done in a state of uncleanliness.
Okay. Kilayim above base.
If an Aris projects from a terrace, Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov says if he stands on the ground and gathers all of it, then it renders forbidden 4 cubits in the field. But if not, it only renders forbidden that which faces it. Reb Eliezer says if one plants one on the ground and one on the terrace, if it is 10 tefachim high from the ground, it does not combine with it. But if not, then it combines with it. And if one trains a vine over part of a trellis frame, it may not bring seeds beneath the rest of it. If he brought, it did not render it forbidden. But if a new spread, it is forbidden. So too, if one trains over part of a non-bearing fruit tree. If one trains a vine over a fruit-bearing tree, he may bring seeds beneath the rest. But if the new spread, he must turn them back. It once happened that Rabbi Shua went to Rabbi Shmuel in Kafar Aziz, and he showed him a vine that was trained over a part of a fig tree. He said to him, "May I bring seeds beneath the rest?" And he said, "It's permitted." And he took him up from there to Beis Hamaganya and showed him a vine which had been trained over part of a branch and the trunk of a sycamore tree which had many branches. He said to him, "Under this branch is forbidden, but the rest is permitted."
Okay. Para. Hey.
If they did not find para aduma ashes from 7 para adumos, they would make katas from the ashes of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1. And who made them? The first was made by Moshe Rabbeinu, the second was made by Ezra, and 5 were made from the times of Ezra on. These are the words of Rev Meir. The comments say 7 from the times of Ezra on. And who made them? Shimon HaTzadik, Yochanan Kohen Gadol made 2 each, and Elihu
El Yohaneni.
Ani ben Hakuf, Kanamal the Egyptian, and Yashriel ben Bem Piani made each one each. That's interesting that they have an Egyptian there, though.
Well, that means he came originally from Egypt, I guess. But...
If they did not find, did I go the right way? No, I went the wrong way. Sorry. They would make a ramp extending from the Temple Mount to the Mount of Oil, consisting of arches on top of arches with an arch over the support below on account of a grave of the deep. For on this ramp, the Kohen would burn the para, and the para and his entourage would leave the Temple Mount to go to the Mount of Oil. If the para did not want to leave, we do not take a black cow along with it, so the people should not say they slaughtered the black cow, nor a red cow, so the people should not say they slaughtered 2 paradumos. And Yossi says, it is not because of this reason, but rather because it was stated, and he shall take it out, which means it alone. And the elders of Israel would proceed of the delegation by foot to the Mount of Oil, and there was an immersion room there. They would render Tomei the Kohen, who was to burn the para on account of the Seduci, so that they would not say that the paraduma service was performed by those who were experienced sunset.
So as we see, lots of times when the Tzedukim make up sak that's more machmir than the Prushim, then the Prushim will dafka go like invoke the kula in order to show the Prushim that they're being too strict. And I mean, we do that nowadays. I mean, why we're so makbid on having cholent or something hot on Shabbos? Because of the Karaim who said, no, you're not allowed to have any fire going in your house. And they say, oh, you can leave one going from before. So we do these things. We do these things dafka to show that that's not the halacha.
You have cholent every Shabbos?
No.
No, we don't either. We don't. Especially for 2 people, like, you know. If one slaughters a sacrifice with the intent to eat something which is not meant to be eaten, or to burn upon the altar something which is not meant to be burnt, it is valid. With Eliezer, it invalidates. If the intent was to eat something which is meant to be eaten, or to burn upon the altar something which is meant to be burnt, but less than an chazayas, it is valid. If the intent was to eat chetzi, right? Yeah, chetzi. Just forgot what I was going to say.
That's his eyes.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And to burn that altar half an olive volume, it is valid for eating and altar burning are not combined. If one slaughters a sacrifice with the intent to eat an olive volume of the hide, the gravy, the sediment, the flayed off shreds, the bones, the giddim, the hooves or the horns beyond its time, or outside its place, it is valid, and one is not liable to regard to them for pigul noso or tummy.
One more. Yeah.
If one slaughters consecrated animals with the intent to eat its fetus or afterbirth outside, he has not rendered it pigul. If it performs what Lika on turtle doves within the courtyard in order to eat their eggs outside, it is not rendered pigul. The meat of consecrated animals and the eggs of turtle doves, one is not liable in regard to them for pigul, noso, or tummy.
Okay. Subas. Base.
Base. If one agrees to give money to his son-in-law and his son-in-law dies, the Kohen can say, he can, to your brother I wanted to give, but to you I do not want to give. If she agreed to bring him 1,000 dinners corresponding to this, he must contract to give her 1,500 zuz. But corresponding to appraised goods, he contracts to give a fifth less. Goods appeared for 100, which are worth 100. He has nothing but 100. Goods appraised for 100, he gives 31 salem and a dinner. With 400, he gives 500. Whatever the groom contracts, he contracts less than a fifth. If she agreed to bring him money, a silver seller becomes 6 dinners. The groom takes upon himself 10 dinners for the basket per 100. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says everything follows the local custom.
Okay. Okay.
Quick question. What are we doing in terms of the learning? Now, do you want me to carry on, but you want me to do the new ones also, just for myself and
While I'm away?
bring away?
Well, yeah, I think that we've got the archives. So fortunately we have done most of these Mishnahs before. I mean, except for the ones that we learned over Shabbos and whatever, we've got recordings for pretty much everything. And even the ones that were over Shabbos, you'll have the Chazara recording from the next day.
Right.
So you'll be able to listen to those from the archive. You know how to find the archives, right?
Yeah, no problem. So just keep going.
Keep on going. Yeah, the schedule doesn't stop. The only regret I have is that we'll be finishing Zrayim while I'm away. So we won't be able to celebrate that together. Maybe we'll make a special exception to have we'll organize a shiur for everyone to get together and have a virtual l'chaim for finishing Zrayim.
Have you seen some of the people? Have you seen like Riley or anything? Is he in shul? Or?
I see them in shul.
You do. So
yeah.
But I guess he can't make it with the kids. Maybe he just can't.
Yeah.
It's too much. So all right, good. So at least I know what's going to happen then. Good. Thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy.
You too. Cheers.
Oh, tomorrow you're going to be post. Pre. You'll be.
Probably. We'll see where I am tomorrow.
I know you. I know what's going to happen.
But yeah, odds are.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Cheers.